As I'm sure many of you are well aware by now, media outlet Digital Foundry released the specs for Microsoft's Project Scorpio, and holy hell, there is definitely a beast lurking under that hood. In this video, I'll be giving you a rundown of the specs, how it all compares to other consoles, and my general thoughts on what I think about all this. So let's begin by taking a look at Scorpio's core components, starting with the CPU. According to Digital Foundry, it comes in at 2.3 GHz versus the Xbox One's 1.75 GHz, making for a 31% increase and coming in at a slightly higher clock speed than the PS4 Pro's 2.1 GHz. Now, the increase in CPU might not seem like much, but it is still significant, and keep in mind that the component that makes the most difference when it comes to video games is the GPU, the graphics card, the graphics processing unit. And on that front, we see Scorpio make a significant leap, coming in at 6 teraflops compared to the PS4 Pro's 4.2 teraflops and the Xbox One's 1.31 teraflops. That makes Scorpio almost 5 times more powerful than Xbox One. Also, from these numbers alone, Scorpio's GPU is just a little less powerful than Nvidia's GTX 1070 GPU, which is one of the more powerful ones out there. Hell, the Scorpio's GPU is more powerful than my current PC's graphics card, which is the GTX 980 Ti, and that comes in at 5.63 teraflops versus the Scorpio's 6. Digital Foundry also detailed GPU compute units, with Scorpio coming in at 40 compute units clocked at 1,172 megahertz, whereas PS4 Pro only has 36 compute units, all clocked lower at 911 megahertz. That is a significant jump, with Digital Foundry estimating this to be a 43% compute advantage for Scorpio when compared to the PS4 Pro. So from these raw specs alone, the Scorpio comes in at around 5 times more powerful than Xbox One and around 43% more than the PS4 Pro. It is easily the most powerful home console ever made. Next up is RAM, which is very important to be able to render 4K assets. According to Digital Foundry, Scorpio comes with 12 gigabytes GDDR5 RAM with a 384-bit bus and a 326 gigabytes per second bandwidth. Xbox One has a total of 8 gigabytes DDR3 ES RAM, and PS4 Pro comes with 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM. But more importantly, 8 of Scorpio's 12 gigabytes of memory are available to game makers, whereas PS4 Pro and Xbox One both only have 5 gigabytes available specifically for games. This means that the Scorpio does have the capabilities to play games at native 4K rather than the PS4 Pro's upscaled 4K. More RAM essentially ensures that high-resolution assets like textures can be loaded in. And on top of these beastly hardware specs, a lot of in-house customization and optimizations were done on both the hardware and the software front. Microsoft balanced every aspect of the Scorpio to achieve an optimal performance in 4K resolution. And that's the general advantage that home consoles have over PC. The console makers can make one piece of hardware that developers can then optimize for. Whereas in PC, you have a vast array of hardware configurations, and that makes it harder for developers to optimize games for that platform. So that's definitely a big plus for Scorpio. Digital Foundry also noted that whereas normally you'd have console makers make the hardware first and then shape the software around that, with Scorpio, Microsoft did the complete opposite. They profiled Xbox One games, engines, and software. They looked at where the bottlenecks were and then developed and optimized the hardware around that data. They even tested everything out with hardware emulators first, before they actually started building the chips. And all of this culminates to what is essentially a hardware developed for software rather than software developed for hardware, all of which is apparently unprecedented according to Digital Foundry. And when you pair these hardware customizations and optimizations with the kind of power and direct access to the chip that the Scorpio offers, you can bet your ass that games are gonna look gorgeous and run butter smooth when properly made. Digital Foundry also noted that porting games over from Xbox One to Scorpio was an absolute breeze. Apparently, it only took the Forza Motorsport 6 team only 2 days to transfer their game over from Xbox One to the Scorpio and have it run very smoothly. In fact, the 2-day port ran at 4K 60 frames per second, and that was without any platform-specific optimizations. That is damn impressive. Even more impressive is that even while running at 4K 60 frames per second in this quick job of a port, the game was only utilizing between 55 to 70% of Scorpio's full GPU power. And that's again without any platform-specific enhancements and optimizations. From these results, Digital Foundry concluded that any games that can run 1080p 60 FPS on Xbox One will likely run at 4K 60 FPS in Scorpio, and this is native 4K. Microsoft also told Digital Foundry that they intend to have games that run 900p on Xbox One running in native 4K in the Scorpio. As for those who are still in 1080p mode and haven't made the leap to 4K, no worries, the console will super sample down everything in native 4K to whatever resolution your screen is. The console will also enable you to run games in various modes, whether that's high performance or high resolution. And these will be available to all users regardless of what display they're using. The PS4 Pro can kind of do the same thing, but it doesn't handle the process quite as well. So this might be a different story with the Scorpio. The cherry on top for this beast of a machine is that it's predicted to come at a $500 price point. Now that's still a significant amount of money, and it is still more expensive than the PS4 Pro's $400 price point, but for what you're getting in terms of raw power, $500 is kind of a steal. We're talking about 6 teraflops worth of power for $500. And I mean, this console can probably run optimized games better than my PC, and those games will probably look better. And my PC cost well over $1,000 when I first bought it, and that is without excluding all of the upgrades I've made since. Obviously, my PC can do more things because of its vast selection of programs and applications. I can't edit YouTube videos on Scorpio, for example. But from a pure gaming perspective, $500 for 6 teraflops of computing power is a pretty good bargain. This is really cool stuff, and I'm happy for Microsoft as well as avid gamers who will be experiencing this kind of power. But at the same time, me personally, I just can't get myself to care too much for any of this. This generation has focused so much on raw power, and I think we're missing the point here. At the end of the day, it's not powerful hardware or great graphics that sell a console, it's great games. Xbox One does have some great games in it, but the inherent lack of a constant stream of compelling exclusives has been a bottleneck for this platform. Honestly, that's the only reason why PS4 is outshining Xbox One when it comes to sales. While Xbox One did have a lot of negative PR leading up to the console's launch, I firmly believe that if they would have kept up with a constant stream of high-quality exclusive titles, they could have easily come back and they would have been neck on neck with the PlayStation 4. But the console fell behind because the exclusive content fell behind. Yes, PS4 is a little more powerful than Xbox One, but that's only an added advantage. It's not the thing that's making it sell more. Not to mention that many of Xbox One's exclusives are being ported over to PC, so that gives me even less reason to buy an Xbox One. I own a Nintendo Switch, I own a PlayStation 4, I still don't own an Xbox One, and it's not because I'm a fanboy, I just haven't been able to justify buying one yet because there isn't a single title that I can only play on Xbox One that makes me go, I need this right now. Whereas Nintendo Switch and PS4 already have those. PS4 in particular has a ton of those. So unless this trend changes, I don't see the story being much different with the Scorpio. It's a more powerful box, sure, but without the games to supplement it, it's just that, it's just a box. A platform is defined by its games, not by its silicons and chips. I'm also not particularly ecstatic for 4K, I don't know if that's just me. Look, 4K is gorgeous and all, but it's just this neat little luxury to have rather than something that marks any kind of significant step in game design. Hell, I still can't justify buying a PS4 Pro because all of the platform's phenomenal exclusives work just fine on the regular PS4 Pro at 1080p or below. Honestly, beyond 4K, the one thing that I want the developers to nail is consistent 1080p 60 frames per second. I'd much rather have that than 4K. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mean to sound pessimistic about the whole thing. I think PS4 Pro and Scorpio are fantastic choices for tech enthusiasts who absolutely love 4K, have seen it, can appreciate the difference. They appeal to a more specific type of consumer, and the more options, the better. It's just a little sad to see that so much of a platform's viability is being defined by graphics rather than the games. You know what games I've been playing a ton lately? Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus, both on the Nintendo Switch. I don't think it's a secret that the teraflops on the Switch are shit compared to Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and especially compared to the PS4 Pro and the Scorpio. And yet it's the platform that I've played most over the last month because Zelda Breath of the Wild is such an amazing game, and because I'm now addicted to Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Both of these games don't push the graphics to the next level, but they're gorgeous in their own way, and they didn't need 6 teraflops to do it. And you know what games I'll be playing next? Horizon Zero Dawn and Persona 5. These are both games that run perfectly fine on the regular PS4 and aren't defined by their graphics, despite being gorgeous in their own way. Beyond being gorgeous, these are all simply great games. They have great design, great mechanics, great artistic direction, great polish, and overall just great vision. And it's these things that bring a game to the forefront. Graphics help, but they're far from defining. Just ask the Order 1886. Not to say that hardware specs don't matter at all, because they do. You can just do more things with games with more powerful hardware. If there's a game that requires big crowds for whatever reason, a more powerful hardware will facilitate that need. If physics is an important part of a game, more powerful hardware will accommodate for more powerful physics engines. And the most important one for me, the more powerful the hardware, the more likely it is that games will run at that sweet spot 60 frames per second. Although it does look like Scorpio is so powerful that it will be able to run a lot of games in 4K 60 frames per second, and that's fantastic. But my point is that graphics should never come at the expense of what truly defines a great game. On that note, a console's hardware specs shouldn't come at the expense of great games and great exclusives. They should place more focus on the latter and not the former. But I will say this, Microsoft has an opportunity here. Now that they've created the most powerful home console ever made, if they can start supplementing that with great games and great exclusives that take advantage of this hardware, you've got the best of both worlds. You've got great graphics, great exclusives, and then everything that follows, whether that's third parties, indies, whatever. It's not too late for Microsoft. Frankly, they've got a long road ahead of them, and Scorpio only opens up new doors and a world of possibilities. And I'm excited for those possibilities, but until I start seeing something tangible, right now I have zero interest in the Project Scorpio. I'm compelled by the computational prowess of this console, but I have zero intent in purchasing one until I see a game that makes me go, holy shit, I need this. E3 2017 is going to be crucial for Microsoft. If they can't show us that they're fully committed towards releasing a constant stream of quality titles, particularly those that you can only play on Xbox, then it's just not going to be a very different story with Scorpio. PS4 Pro, despite its lesser hardware prowess, will still dominate if it continues to dominate with its games and exclusives. No amount of hardware power can give you an edge in that front. I really do want this to succeed though. I wish Microsoft the best of luck, and I hope they will blow us away at E3 2017, because at the end of the day, when a home console becomes successful, it gives us more options, and the true winners are us, the consumers, who get to consume these amazing products and amazing games, and it's bliss. So yeah, I hope Microsoft realizes the full potential of this beast of a console. So there you go, folks, the full rundown of the Scorpio specs, as well as my thoughts and opinions on the matter. What do you think? Are you sold on Microsoft's Project Scorpio with these amazing specs? Or are you like me and you're cautiously optimistic, waiting to see what games they have in store for us? Let us know in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things video game news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!